Hello and welcome to Power and Perspective with Aaron and April. I'm April. He is Aaron.
Did you get me?
He's that way.
No.
Are you that way?
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's Aaron.
Yeah.
He's Aaron.
There you go. Yeah. Use the other hand. Put a
Yeah.
bracelet on or something. So it's.
Oh, that's a good idea. Or like a different colored glove. I did that when I used to ice skate, and you have to do a left turn, and I'd be like, oh, the green glove. How come I can remember the green glove, but I can't remember left? Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, that's some under the veil stuff for sure.
I digress. Oh, that should be the name of this podcast. I digress.
We've come too far. We've come too far.
That's my life motto, actually.
Yeah.
I digress.
A rambler.
I digress, aka squirrel.
The ADHD life.
Yes.
So happy New Year, everybody. We figured it
Oh,
would
have
be
we not?
appropriate. No.
I'll talk.
Yeah, it's the
Hello, and
4th.
Happy New
Yeah.
Year.
It's only the 4th now, and we're here in 2021 where things are largely the same
As 2020.
because nobody cares about
expected
clocks.
Well, yeah, we expected big things like that click, and everything was going to be different.
I don't think that's abnormal. I don't think that's new to
That's true. True
this
that.
time.
You're right.
That's the whole nature of what is it?
Now they're just waiting for the new president, and then they think everything's going to be different, right?
Yeah, I mean that's every 4 years.
True. It's just you don't feel like it's amplified?
I guess so. There's controversy, but
There's always controversy.
yeah,
I guess not always.
I don't know. So in the spirit of it being New Year's, what are your resolutions for 2021?
I feel like you should have prepped me for this. What are my resolutions? I am having a vision board party. Feel free to come, everybody. You know what? I'll put a link in the Facebook page. Come register for the vision board party. So I have thought a little bit about this. What are my resolutions? My resolution is to be more visible with my business stuff. That's my resolution.
That's good.
My word of the year, which is a more important question and one I have an answer to, is shine. Shine. S-H-I-N-E. Shine.
I'm glad things have gotten a little less practical from your side, going from the resolution to the word of the year. I was a little bit concerned because to pair with your over practicality, or add a characteristic practicality of being more visible in your business, I'd say if I had to have one, mine would be being more kind to myself. So I'll jump to the other side of the practicality spectrum. So we're trading roles here for our New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, but also, are you in my group, my Facebook group? Because we talk a lot about things like that.
No, I don't think I am. Wait, which one?
It's called Impacting.
Yes.
No, Empowering You, Impacting Kids.
Yeah.
Do you watch me?
Uh,
I had a very good video today about beliefs and thoughts and results in your life.
I'd say about 1 in 3 I watch. More is to help with QC, if anything else. No offense.
QC?
Yeah, quality
QC?
control.
Oh, are you seeing if I sing Frozen songs?
We're just not
I feel like
we're just
that's-
not letting that go, right? Is that going to be the whole thing? It's specifically
That's gonna be-
Frozen we're leaning into.
We'll have a whole episode just about not being allowed to sing Frozen songs. Such a good movie, though.
Well, so here we are then in 2021, and I think what we're doing here is very interesting as far as the topic today goes, because we're talking about working from home both last year and then kind of going forward. And I think that I don't actually know that we'd be doing this, would we, if it was a year of regular office jobs and normalcy, with air quotes?
We
I
might.
guess.
We might, because I quit my job before this even happened.
That's a fair point. So, I mean, it should be stated that we are lucky, me probably in more of a traditional sense than you with our careers, that we haven't had any fundamental disruption to our day-to-day.
Yeah, and had I stayed at my job, I wouldn't have had any disruption. So
Yeah, because you were still in education, and education has been...
yeah, and I was in education at a virtual school. So
Oh yeah, that's even double stacked. And yeah, and I'm in an industry that the world can't really survive without. So and supports in a way everybody else working from home. So I can't.
And it's something you can do from home, though. Like not.
Yeah. Well,
The
and
world
even
can't
if
live without.
not, I mean, I think everybody, even the people who have to be on site, are still working full hours and doing
Okay.
just
There are
fine.
some people that have to be on
Oh yeah,
site.
hardware's got to get maintained, and
Well, duh.
things
Yeah,
have to
that
be
makes
brought
sense.
up, and all kinds of maintenance and stuff has to be done. But yeah, so we've been lucky. What do you see?
Yeah.
Do you think? I don't know what the numbers are, but I imagine there have been a lot of people, like say in retail, and I know for sure in the hospitality industry, who are not doing well.
Yeah.
As far as employment goes, I don't know for money. I don't know.
And even for money, because unemployment is like, and I see a lot of people on Facebook, they haven't gotten some unemployment and it's delayed. And then there was that extra money, then there wasn't that extra money. And I've seen a lot of people have to like just basically pick a new path.
Yeah.
Like one person said that they worked in hotels. Now she's like doing, what is that? Like eyebrow threading.
Oh, okay.
Just gotta make it work.
Yeah. I mean, and it's the importance, and you see a lot of and I'll say from my side, more fluffy things about, if you're not working on yourself all this time at home, then you're not really taking advantage of everything that's going on, like the actual upsides of the lockdowns and everything. But it's true. I mean, and it's not something that should be isolated to last year. Everybody should always be working on, always have hobbies, develop skills. And this is, I mean, one of the good reasons why is that if you end up in a bad position, you have something to work toward. Yeah. Even if it's not if it's not profitable or anything as you see it, if it's just a hobby, it's still a skill that you have now.
Adapt and overcome.
Yeah.
I think that's the Marines, but I'm stealing it.
And you were a Marine?
No, I was in the
Oh, okay.
Army.
I don't think anybody knew that yet.
Oh, no? Well, I was in the Army Reserves. Let's be very clear. I was in the Army Reserves. But yeah, adaptation is what it's all about, really, what I think. That's what I feel like with the kids too. Like I never thought that like school is closed. There was a window pop up. Um School's never just about learning the facts and the history and like adding and subtraction. I always tell my personal kids like that's that's not what it's all about. Like that's important, yeah, whatever, but also it's everything else. And this is the everything else. The adapting to different situations, to learning new skills quickly like the tech, to like applying information from one area and applying it to another. Like take all your classroom rules and apply them to the, to the computer. Like these are amazing skills that our kids are learning that they never would have before. Motivation, self-motivation for my daughter to like get out of bed. Sometimes that doesn't happen. I cannot lie. Sometimes school is done in the bed.
Well, I mean, even before this, I think everybody can relate to that on, some level. Because there are some days where you just don't do it or don't have the energy or, people
Or
take
don't
mental
care.
health days. Yeah, I mean, that's...
True that. True that. Yeah. I think I have been from the beginning been a fan. I mean, not obviously of the reason we're in quarantine and working from home, but of the result. Huge fan. Huge fan.
So a lot of the reading I did, staying on topic here, a lot of the reading that I did pre-show for the last like 2 or 3 days has been about business and the future of the economy and such. But what I haven't looked into at all is like what's going on with education as far as the numbers, like how are kids doing with this new paradigm?
As you can imagine, it depends. Just like it depends on how a kid does if they're in physical school. There are so many different variables and elements. I can tell you that if we were to take national tests, I would bet that those scores have gone down. I don't have actual numbers or statistics. Obviously, nobody does. Everybody would just be guessing because we haven't taken those tests. But I would bet scores would go down. But I don't believe that's just because it's online learning. I mean, I guess it's the same thing with in-face learning. I feel like teachers aren't prepared for this online platform. They weren't trained well enough in the online platform. And I feel like they're teaching from an expectation of the end is coming instead of
Oh,
embracing it and okay, now I need to get better. I need to get better. Well, why would I need to get better if like next month we're going to go back to the
yeah.
classroom, you know?
And we're back. Well, that was a fun little technical hiccup.
Are we back? I'm checking on Facebook. It says this
Yeah.
live video has ended. Did we start a
Yeah,
whole
we
new one?
started a new one, a part 2
Oh,
for
part
ease of,
2. Okay,
cuz that
can I say how apropos this was though?
yeah, I mean, it couldn't have been
Like
better
this is
timed
the
as far as
negatives. Here you have the negatives of working from home
Yep, have to rely on
and
internet service providers.
and schooling from home. There's a lot of this issue with schooling from home, especially equitable access.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Um
Yeah,
so, okay, going back to where we were, do you
I have no
think
idea where.
that the challenges that are being faced are, like I was saying, going back to our previous episode on defunding public schools, that the struggles through this are shining a light on the issues with what we consider traditional education, and or do you think it's all kind of being overlooked as
I
pandemic
would love,
isolated stuff?
yeah, I would love to say that people will learn lessons. I mean, the hopeful part of me, no. I don't have a hopeful part of me with regards to that. I don't I think it's just looked at like we want to get past this. We want to just get back to normal,
Yeah.
right? That's what everybody keeps saying. Same thing with education. We just want to get back to normal when normal was not that great, especially
Well,
in Nevada.
I don't think a lot of industries are like as far as work goes, based on the what I've been reading, that most people are happy at least having some part of their lives work from home. So as work goes, I don't think anybody in traditional industries necessarily want to get back to normal, um, despite there being a disparity in potential wage disparity based on people that can work from home and people that can't. But so you don't think that the potential future, if the future looks anything like it does right now, um, that there will be a focus more on individual interaction with students or more custom programs or anything like that?
So I can speak because I came from a virtual school and this is what we did. What everybody's doing now is what we did every day, right? And it comes with its own obvious set of problems that teachers are in schools are realizing now. Um, so is that while it sounds easier to individualize, you have a time issue first of all,
Yeah.
and you have an attention issue. It's hard to keep kids' attention sitting at a computer all day long,
Yeah.
right? So you can't, it's long, you might say, oh, they normally go to school from like 7 a.m. to, when do they go? Like 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. or something. I don't
Yeah.
know when kids go to school. Whatever. They normally go to school, but you can't. They're normally in lunch. They're normally walking around the classroom. You know what I mean? You can't have them sit in front of the computer that entire time. So you have to kind of get creative. Um, I do know that what might change is virtual schools may be looked at differently because as a virtual school, our scores were always way low. In fact, they shut down our elementary school. I mean, we have kindergartners who you're trying to keep engaged and then, to be able to test high enough to keep a school open. So, it comes with its own set of problems, but I think a lot of people are seeing some value in it. Like I asked in my Supermoms group what they thought, and a lot of them were talking about the value in it. And it's a lot of reason why people choose virtual school to begin with. Can I be just a little side note? Homeschooling is not the same as schooling from home. Okay, homeschooling is where the parent or someone they might pay does the educating, they choose the curriculum, blah, blah, blah. Schooling from home is where the school provides the schooling. You just have to kind of guide them and hopefully make them sit in front of the
So
computer.
for homeschooling,
Um,
what do the results look like in comparison for what we see as traditional homeschooling with the parent or a
that's a great
particular
question that
individual?
I don't actually know the answer to. Um, and I know there's like I don't think they have to state test. And there's a lot of wiggle room in grades and performance and things like that. So I'm not sure even if I'm sure there's statistics. I don't know how much I would trust the accuracy
It may not be
of
comparable enough
those statistics. Yeah,
until we start seeing a
correct.
large scale move to homeschooling and those
Yeah.
people entering the workforce in 20 years, and we'll no longer be
Yeah.
talking
And
about
again,
it.
so that's going to depend, right? The quality of the education, the quality of your education in a school district depends on the district, depends on the school, depends on the classroom, depends on the teacher. So when you talk about homeschooling, the quality of your education is going to depend on the program that's chosen, the home you're in, your parents, their efforts and their value of the education you're getting, right? So there's so many variables in homeschooling. I don't see how you could possibly put data to it that's going to mean anything.
Yeah. Okay. until you see the
But I think a
output.
lot more people are going to see the value in schooling from home, like a virtual school option. So I think the school I came from, might get a lot more resources and support than it did previously. Because everybody's realizing, oh, look, one of the parents said, my kid's a social butterfly and is always trying to chat. But now, without those distractions, she's
Yeah.
thriving, right? And the obvious ones of bullying and peer pressure not being an issue.
Well, and just like
Uh,
with businesses right now, the cost of doing business in school will drop because some of these buildings will not get built. Some of them may be sold off, and there may be some very valuable land that gets sold off as part of it, and not without getting into the potential issues with that with unions and everything else. There could be
yeah.
more resources to bring in more teachers to support this kind of program and give more personal time to students. Um,
And that's a good point. The taking away the brick and mortar resources to provide that additional support to make virtual learning more effective.
yeah, I mean, I can only imagine how much my company's saving in coffee alone. Like no
Legit.
joke.
Legit. Bagels? Come on.
And this is so the follow up question to that, and this is a completely unfair question to ask of you because not only are you not a traditional teacher, but you can't represent an entire group of people. But
I used to be a traditional
oh
teacher. Oh, you
no,
mean like as in my
no,
personality?
like right now, like you're
Oh,
not in
you
that.
you went like this,
No,
and I was like, "Am I a cocaine teacher?"
I don't know who you teach. Um, pardon me.
I
So
did have long pinky nails for a little bit.
I don't know what that means. Um, so according to a FlexJobs survey, FlexJobs is an online recruiter slash job website. That they're finding that people, it says 27% are willing to take a 10 to 20% pay cut to work remotely.
Interesting.
Do you think that teachers, or that the teacher mentality, whatever it is that makes a teacher, would be amenable to something like that? And do you think that it would be effective to bring on more teachers overall?
I think, as always, it depends. I think that some teachers love being in the classroom and being with their students. And they'd never be okay with working from home. They just never would be. Um, but I know tons of teachers that are loving it. And I also know a lot of teachers who are actually working more hours. Also, it could be because it's new. They have to transfer everything that they did in the classroom and try to get kids engaged virtually. And so that could be a component. Once they get used to it, it may not be as many hours. Um, so there is that. But I I don't uh, I don't know if teachers don't make anything anyway. Give them a pay cut. I would say heck no.
Okay. And you,
But I could see. I mean, look what you're saving, right? You're saving commute time.
yeah.
You're saving on clothing, but you just need a shirt. In fact, I teach ESL in the mornings and at night sometimes. I literally have one shirt that I wear. I just put it on when I teach and then I take it off. The same shirt. Those kids probably think I only own one shirt. But you save on clothing. Um, what else do you save on?
Yeah,
Commute,
definitely
clothing.
vehicle maintenance.
Yeah, vehicle maintenance. Somebody else had a good thing about eating out, about food.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of I don't teachers not necessarily because we don't get to eat out, but like businesses, like if you go work on a job, you probably go out to eat a lot, and that's money saving. You might eat healthier.
Yeah, almost certainly.
Yeah, I just eat all day actually when I work from home. I just have like a constant snack bowl.
You need some fasting in 2021. Um, so my next question, and I think this is my last question, but I didn't know about this question prior. Um, do you think there's any value with the idea of and as we talk about disrupting traditional education as we know it, so school districts are very centralized in the areas, right? And so teachers teach in the areas that they live fundamentally. If I mean maybe they have to have a commute and such, but they're not generally going across state lines and things like that. Do you think there's value as far as expectations from students and I guess the industry as a whole to decentralize that sort of thing where you never know if your teacher may be from New Jersey or Washington?
Oh my gosh. This is such a great question and such a great thought. Can you imagine the hoopla that people would throw? They already are so upset about Common Core because they don't want any national education standard. Can you imagine like a national there's so much value in it. I know why people would be upset, state rights and blah blah schmacky schmack. But like yes. Imagine not only that, imagine the expectations of teachers. I always felt one of the biggest downfalls of our Nevada education system is teacher education. The teacher education in our state is it's just sorry for all of you out there in higher teacher education, but it's just not great. And the expectations of your level as you go through becoming a teacher. I'm trying to say this nicely, people. I don't know how else to say it. But I went from science majors, right, to education major, and I was like, this is like barely even school. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it wasn't hard. It's so easy. Anybody can become a teacher. So imagine, though, if it was nationwide that you were basically competing against for jobs. That would raise expectations, right?
Yeah, and personally, I mean, I'm all for increasing competition. We won't get into that too much because
I
we'll
know.
get to it at some point in one of these episodes. Uh, but if so, but you didn't do education locally, right? You all of your higher education was all remote, wasn't it?
Oh my, yeah. So I mean, I grew up. My bachelor's was at UNLV, so my bachelor's was local. Both my masters were
So when you
virtual.
switched to education, the problems that you saw weren't localized.
No, that was in my That was in my
Oh,
bachelor's
oh,
degree.
okay. That you
Yeah,
saw
yeah,
those
yeah,
specific
yeah, yeah,
problems. So there's a
yeah.
multi-tier problem here that even like parents probably don't even consider or aren't aware of.
Oh God. Yeah, you don't even think of that. And our education system, transiency is a huge issue, right? In Nevada, transiency of students and transiency of
Yeah.
teachers. It's one of the reasons Boston, why Massachusetts has such is so high in education, is because no everybody stays in the same house till they die, and then they take it over from their parents, and every teacher stays in the same position till they die. So they get good at it, right? And they build relationships, one of the downfalls of Nevada. But imagine things were
Yeah.
virtual, right? Like you could have that same teacher, like could even follow you for a couple grades or that system. And imagine the diversity. Oh, this is very exciting.
Well, I mean, and that's and when we talk about, and I personally don't think there's any 10th Amendment issues here with states' rights and all that. And anybody who brings that up has probably got an agenda. One man's opinion. But I mean,
I don't know any political.
if everybody talks about like, I mean, school choices over time, what we're talking about being the solution potentially to any education problems. And so just having is it, and you may not have an answer to this question, is it possible to start a school like that, a school that crosses
So
borders and
the only border crossing schools I know are they're either private. They're private. It's not when you talk about schools that cross border and you make them public, you funding is the issue.
that's
Where does the
fair.
funding come
Yeah.
from? If I'm educating people across state lines. So like the school I worked at, you had to live in Nevada. Now you didn't have to live in Clark County or Las Vegas, but you had to live in Nevada because you get federal funds. State. The state gets the
Yeah.
federal funds, then gives them to the
Yeah,
school.
and as we discussed previously, there's no real such thing as direct federal funding. So it would
No,
be
yeah,
it would require a huge paradigm shift, the likes of which we may
yeah,
not see in our lifetime.
no. But wouldn't it imagine? I want everybody watching this to imagine how awesome that would be, where you get, like, even with higher education, where Harvard started putting out, not Harvard, there was some like website or education app or something like that that started recording like Harvard classes and you could take them for free. So basically, getting was supposed to be the best of education. Why wouldn't we want that? Why wouldn't we want everybody to have access to the best education? That's what our country should want. I can't even comprehend why we make it so inaccessible.
Well, if I mean, and
Actually, money. I can comprehend it's money, but
yeah,
go ahead.
there's yeah, and
Sorry.
we haven't gotten even into public unions. I don't think yet. We're gonna have to do an episode. That's gonna be a knockdown drag out. I think. Um, is I lost my question. Nope, that was it.
Mm, that's okay.
But that's I mean that's a lot. It's
I think,
fodder for a lot of future conversations because I
yeah,
hadn't
but
even
I
thought
don't
about it
think,
till we had the conversation.
and how come I haven't even, I mean, no, I hadn't even thought about it. I thought about it because my mind thinks of the restrictions, right? Like I know it's not a thing possible, but that just it would be amazing. Yes, there would be. Everybody says with virtual schooling, it's the socialization, right, that they miss. But there's so many activities around a town where you can, or a group that you can, you can still get that social interaction, but you can meet people. Imagine if it was, don't get crazy here. Imagine if it was like a world thing, right? And you were like schooling with people from Australia and like, how cool.
Well,
I wonder if that exists. It might exist, a private school like that.
I think it'd be worth looking into and
I know there's schools that call themselves international blah blah blah, but I don't think they're really
well
international.
maybe it's in your future to start a nonprofit to fund.
To start a world school.
Yeah.
And then people will think I'm trying to start a world religion and make everybody the same.
Well, and going
But it's not. It's about
yeah,
diversity.
and going back to your point, I think that we'd see extracurricular type activities like small businesses and everything start to thrive and create it
True
create a
that.
vacuum that had to be filled for
True
kids
that.
activities, and everything would be more, instead of having it where it was everybody at school, you'd have groups of people that you had more in common with, that you're spending more of
Yeah,
your time
that you
with.
would be socializing
Like I
with.
spent a lot
Yeah.
of time, like most of my school was spent in band with band kids. But if my
Yeah.
school was isolated from that, I actually might have spent more time doing that and focused more on that skill. And who knows, maybe I would have been a professional musician. It's not terribly likely, but it would encourage people
Ugh.
to find more, or kids to find, and you know all about this, to find what it is that's worth their time, and having that greater
Yes.
selection and more flexibility to float around and kind
Yeah.
of figure out what it is that they're passionate about.
And also after kids learn the basic skills, like, so if a kid brings home like a C in math and an A in English, what do? We're like, oh, you need to spend way more time in math. Let's do so much math. Let's practice all the math. And no, 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 no. What if instead we're like, dude, you're bomb at English. Let's see how bomb you can get. And let's do more English and like hone that skill till you're like super English.
But
That was a bad example, but you get the
but
point.
also get a little bit better at math.
Well, yeah, we can. I see him at. You're still
Okay,
passing. Like,
fair
get
enough.
over it. No one's gonna look at your
Yeah,
grades, right?
yeah. Well, I think
You're not.
that's. I
You're
mean,
not.
I definitely think it's an idea that is worth exploring. I don't know how or where or when or what, but
Yeah.
maybe we'll
So,
sit on it a little bit and let it stew and try to revolutionize the
It would
world.
definitely have to be. It would definitely have to be a private school, right? At this point in time,
Yeah.
you couldn't. So a lot of things that were brought up about the positives, right? Of because we know the negatives, lack of socialization, blah blah blah. The positives of schooling from home. That some things I didn't even think about. Some things are obvious, but like students with physical disabilities,
Yeah.
right? So students who even sometimes go to special schools because of their physical disabilities when they don't even need to be, or you know what I mean, where they're mentally functioning just fine, can all of a sudden be part of it could be
Yeah.
way more inclusive, right? Another thing somebody mentioned was abuse issues. Like, and this I think goes for the workplace too. So less like sexual harassment and things like that, which I had not thought about.
Well, and I think it's important to bring up the flip side as well, whereas traditional schooling, the brick and mortar, it could be an escape from that as well if it's happening at home.
Yes, and I forgot about too. That is a fantastic point. And some kids, the only place they eat is at school,
Yeah. And
right?
that's
So,
institutionalized, so they don't have to rely on an adult to make that choice, which they might have to do in this
hmm
utopia we're discussing.
yeah, yeah, totally. That's a good point. It is, and and some kids have super disruptive homes. Not only is school safer, but they're trying to learn, maybe and even babysit because their parents are a worker, right, and have to go. So they're like learning. They're in third grade. They're also like schooling their kindergarten siblings, or they have 8 people that live in the house and a crazy dog. That's my crazy dog. Yeah. And they're trying to learn. So there are, as with everything, there's like advantages and disadvantages, and people work better in different ways. But I think a lot of people are starting to see, a lot of parents and students are starting to see that it's a better option for them. Like they've discovered that. That's what they've gotten to
Yeah.
discover through this process.
Yeah, and I mean it seems like a fair thing to say that even after things start to we'll say regress for lack of a better, trying to avoid the word normal, that there should be more of an option for those students who are thriving right now, um, to
Yeah.
have that opportunity. Um, yeah.
And there used to be, so like in the Clark County School District, there was an online school. There still might be, but I think they go to school like twice a week or something. At the school I taught at, they went, if they lived in Las Vegas, they came for a half day once a week if they were low to get extra services. But
Well, and something else, and transitioning this back half over to the economy and the world of business here. Um, Andrew Yang, who you might remember, ran for the Democratic presidential
oh,
nomination this
that's
last.
my daughter's like love
Oh,
affair.
she's a Yang ganger. Good
Yeah.
to know.
She is. She wants to. I told her she needs to be on his. She said he wasn't ready this time, so it's good that he didn't make it any further. He's not ready, but next time.
Well, and he may not get there just because his ideas are not traditional enough. I don't think. But he was very aggressive.
Because traditional is working so well, people.
No comment. Um, in floating, he had a lot of somewhat radical ideas that aren't necessarily radical in like intellectual circles, but the idea of a shortened work week, and pointing out that, and there was, uh, I don't remember which article I read it in here, but I know Microsoft experimented with a 4-day work week at a subsidiary in Japan. Um, the subsidiary closed every Friday in August and saw its productivity jump by 40% compared to the previous year. And I think the idea was that when you don't have the So when you go to work for 8 hours, you are at work for those 8 hours, and you have to do a specific amount of work within those 8 hours generally. And obviously, this is flexible because everybody has different
Yeah.
jobs, and um, but when you condense it to say 6 hours, you find everybody gets the same amount of work done in the 6 hours that they would have done in the eight, leaving for better work-life balance.
Yes.
And maybe, just maybe, if we transition that to education, that you might see the same thing where you're not forcing these kids to be at school for X amount of time. I know for myself, I could have probably done with a program like that where it was less time,
Oh yeah.
and more
Doing
and more
nothing.
focused. Yeah, freeing up
Less fluff.
teachers' time subsequently to provide
Yeah.
more individual
Plan.
services for kids. And
There are schools that do that. In Pahrump, actually, they were doing 4 days a week.
interesting. What did they do? You
Yeah.
have did they
I don't have any
any
numbers.
results at
No.
all? Fair enough.
No. No. I do know that this might be changing the subject. Tell me if it is. But so when I worked for the virtual school, I worked on campus, but I worked from home 1 day a week. That 1 day a week I worked from home, I got so much more done because all I did was work.
Yeah.
Like, and I worked from right when I woke up. Like, I didn't wait till 9 o'clock to start working. I just woke up, like, brushed my teeth, ate some breakfast, and started working. And worked until, like, when I felt like stopping, which was usually way later than I would normally get off. So I did work longer, but I got, like, probably a week's worth of work done in 1 day. Because at the office, I work a little bit, then I chat a little bit. Then I take a little round around the building. Might have a little snacky snack.
Well, and that, I mean, the part of that Flex Jobs survey that I was reading, 95% of their respondents said that their productivity has been higher or the same working from home, and 51% report being more productive when working remotely. And the top reasons that they gave were fewer interruptions, more focused time, quieter work environment, more comfortable workspace, and for me, not being involved in office politics.
Oh yeah. Well, and also, um, oh my gosh, again, this is going to depend because some people are now working from home while their kid is schooling from
Yeah.
home. Like, and some teachers, think of the teachers who have their own kids, right? So they're teaching from home. Their kids are schooling from home while they're teaching. Like, what a mess. So I guess it would create, again, it would all depend.
Well,
That's a terrible
I think
answer.
we can agree that this, at a very fundamental level, isn't going away, right? That
I hope so.
the something has happened that's irreversible because everybody has seen the
You
viability.
think so?
Yeah, I think the stigma. I think there was a stigma about working from home, and that people are generally less productive and would have more distractions, and I think all of that's been kind of destroyed.
So there were people who, at the work that I worked at, didn't ever want anybody to work from home because they thought, they're going to do nothing, whatever. And my boss, who is a genius, shout out, he always said, do they accomplish their work? Is their work done? Like, that's how you tell.
Yeah.
Like, not if you call them at 2:43 and they answer within 3.7 seconds. That's not how to tell if they're working productively. Like, is their work done? And if you think they get their work done too fast, then you give them more work.
Yeah. And don't judge them by your preconceived notions of what's going to happen, and actually analyze what
Yes.
is happening.
And don't care, like look at what matters, not your, like, perception of what's happening in their home. Like, if you see them at 12 o'clock and, like, somehow see that they're doing laundry, like, okay, yeah, but did they get their work done that day? So why do you care if they did laundry too? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Especially if they did more work and were more productive,
Yes. Yeah.
then you should be clapping.
Imagine what do you think that, like, so the laundry thing's legit, right? So you can work, and instead of, like, running to the water cooler whatever, you change a load of laundry, which means you don't have to do that at night, which conceivably, theoretically means you have more family
Yeah.
time.
And you could have more family
Have
time
less
in
stress.
general because your family will still even be
Yeah.
around you while you're working. And that alone
Yes.
could be enough to relieve some stress.
Yeah. I love it. Dude, freaking I love not having to take the kids to school and pick them up. I can't even tell you how great it is. Although I'm again, like you said, I'm super lucky.
Yeah, yeah, and there's no avoiding that. And actually, and the next thing I have here on my list, which goes right into that, is the idea that this paradigm shift may create even greater uh, issues with wage disparity
Disparity. Yeah.
because the people like people who generally work hourly type jobs and granted we kind of work hourly type jobs, both of us, is that they're more reliant on, being in retail or hospitality, things like that. People who can't work from home, and they're possibly being less value or less incentive to get into those industries.
Positions.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there'll always be people who will be in those industries because of education disparity or even desire.
Yeah, and that's fair. But it's if we create, and I'm trying to avoid political stuff because it's not particularly relevant.
No,
No, it's
unless
yeah, it's not relevant. I mean, everybody should be able to see that there is a growing and it's understood that the middle class is disappearing, as they say, but I don't think that's a great way to communicate it. But if this increases that gap, then
like
are we serving people or not? But at the same time, um, to look at cities like San Francisco, right? And me working in tech, I see jobs in San Francisco all the time that I still couldn't afford to live in San Francisco on, but they're seeing people fleeing now. And I know Nevada is trying to bring in people from California, just pointing at, hey, come work from Nevada. We don't have any state income tax. Not that that particularly matters, but we generally have a low tax rate, and you can work from home, keep your same job, and be within even flying distance of San Francisco if you have to go in there. So
yeah.
what you're seeing is, you're seeing rents drop
Oh,
in these
yeah,
metropolitan
and states would
areas.
have to compete against each other
Yeah,
more.
which there's
Yeah.
still a lot of presently, but it would be the same
Yeah, but
for
still
the
even
the
more.
the decentralized education idea. You would as well.
Yeah.
You'd see kind of the same thing, and to the mental health point, people would have a better opportunity to live where they wanted to live.
Yeah. Well, and I think it would provide, so we talked about like the it's not called lower class, is it? Is that what it's
What?
called? The lower class? Lower, middle, high? Upper, middle
Yeah, that's
class.
fine.
That's the word, and I don't like that. Anyway, so we talk about the lower class usually is because of lack of income and lack of education. If we open up these education opportunities, therefore possibly opening up income opportunities,
Yeah, that's a
right?
fair point.
Then perhaps the lower class, well, I believe the lower caste because of opportunity and only lack of desire because of lack of easy opportunity and knowledge of what to do.
And
You know what I
potential
mean?
inspiration and finding their passion and all of that
Well,
sort of
yeah,
thing
and
as well.
yeah, which I think, and because of habitualness or passed onness, whatever that is. Gosh, April, this is what happens. If we did these in the morning, people, I would be on point. Yeah, so opening up these resources, it's really resources, right? It's people as people
People as
resources.
resources.
You
your
know what
true
I mean.
colors are starting to show. Um, no, I mean I agree that everything that people would be able to find more of what it is that they were looking for, and have
Yeah.
better opportunities to do that. I kind of lost track of where we were going.
Because working in San Francisco, and you just have more opportunities. Oh, the
Oh,
tax
yeah.
or
So, and one of the things, and I'll have a controversial moment here. So when the argument I get in when anybody talks to me about raising the minimum wage, um, usually the thing I rely on is that rents, and the cost of not necessarily the cost of living, but cost of housing doesn't fluctuate with our economy. It goes up, and that's the only direction it's gone for years. In that when we see something like this, it it's disrupting all of that as well and bringing down those costs, and may ultimately make it easier, because even if we're talking about a 4-day work week for hourly employees, that's
right?
lost wages.
Oh yeah,
So there has to be at the very least a balance to that,
yeah, true
and
that.
we might see it.
My rent did not go down, BTW.
Yeah, Vegas is special.
I was glad it didn't go up.
Yeah, I mean, there's somewhat of an advantage there, and I think it'll take some time. But I definitely think that if we start seeing this, um, mass exodus from larger metropolitan areas, I think Vegas will be the victim more than the beneficiary, because I think people will be here instead of California with the proximity, and the projected rurality to a lot of the city. Like it's all mostly suburbs, and then places you can't live. Like there's not a
Mm,
lot of in between. But
space.
it'll
Yeah,
definitely, I think, start to address that issue, or at least make good use cases for
yeah,
pressing for analysis of why people can't afford to live. That isn't necessarily focusing on wages, which personally I think is the incorrect way to look at the problem. Yeah.
perspective.
Definitely
Yeah,
not that the problem doesn't exist, but just that we have to address it from a fixable perspective.
yeah. Like if you expect people to actually live in a house, like what is that
Yeah.
balance? I never thought of that
That we
before.
can't constantly raise
So,
wages to meet another industry whose expectations are unreasonable.
yeah. Hmm. I hope things change, like you say. I hope there is. I think there has been anyway, like more virtual jobs, uh, in general, but I hope this changes that and makes it a lot more, um, to give more opportunity. I'm all for opportunity. Something we didn't talk about, which I could squeeze in really quick, is the environmental effects of people not
Yeah,
driving so
that
much.
is true. That's and even on top of the car maintenance and stuff, like there's just nothing but it seems, other than maybe mental health stuff, but when we're not dealing with lockdowns, that may not be
Yeah, when we can go
as much of
out.
an
Yeah.
issue. Only time will tell on that. But
Yeah.
that there seem to be nothing but benefits in disrupting the stigma of homework.
As having it as an
Yeah.
option. Yeah. Agreed.
So I think we
Agreed.
agree. It's universally great, and there's no reason it shouldn't be the new normal. As much as I
We
hate
always
doing
agree.
that.
If you ever don't agree with us, tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I understand if you don't
You
not
need to.
agree, because here we are. I mean, look at us. Um,
I don't understand what that
that
meant. I was just
we're
smiling and
correct.
nodding.
We are correct.
Oh, oh, we are correct.
Just trying to squeeze in some hyper arrogance for the sake of itself.
We're right. That's my job.
Oh,
Pompous windbag is
oh
my job.
yes. Well, we'll switch. We've been switching roles a
You
lot in
you are
this
dream crusher. Oh, you're
episode,
right.
so
We have been. Role reversal.
do you know what it is that we're talking about next week?
Oh, not particularly. I had so many options in my head. Is there anything in the news?
Oh well, we'll talk about that later. I didn't know if there was a general plan,
I didn't
but
know. Yeah,
that's all right.
I don't want to I don't want to promise that yet. I got things coming, people. I got things coming, but I don't want to promise it yet.
Yeah, we're gonna start to try to get into some more series style stuff here and there, to cover multiple topics under, I guess, the same umbrella. But
Crystals, out, ladies, get your crystals out.
so yeah, please like, share, subscribe, do all the things. The YouTube algorithm loves it, and we would appreciate it very much.
We love
We
it.
love it. Yes. And
Oh, we should do something every time we get a new subscriber. Like you should shave part of your beard or something.
oh, that would get very interesting very quickly from my experience.
Well, you'd run out of beard first of all.
If we did it incrementally, and unless things
Like
got
millimeters?
out of hand, which, hey, if it wants to get out of hand, if you're watching this and want to help us get it out of hand, feel free. If you want to see me look like a newborn baby, a fat old newborn baby, that's I. All right, that's that got
Or if you have a better idea, maybe we'll get a tattoo for every
that got-
subscriber.
that got flipped on itself. And then we'll have to get jobs for the circus and stop doing the podcast.
I know. No, I'm
But thanks for listening. We'll keep everything updated on Facebook as to what it is that we're going to be doing, and reaching out to people for topics that we don't think of. So if there's something you want to hear us
feel
talk
free to
about,
reach out to us.
yeah, please let us know, and we'll be happy to address it here in this world where she's flipping something around. But in the meantime,
pen.
don't forget to take care of yourselves. I know the whole New Year thing can be tiresome, but it just
Mental health.
always remember, yeah, be kind to yourself and to everyone else. And in the meantime, take care.
Adios.